Elizabeth Warren is the chairwoman of the Congressional Oversight Panel, and she joins us now from Newton, Massachusetts. And welcome to our program. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Okay, I was reading through, Professor, this executive summary of this report, and you detail very troubling things, and I just want to tell our viewers that. In the next 4 years, 1.4 trillion loans will reach the end of their terms, half of them underwater. Commercial property values have fallen more than 40% since 2007. This is quite troubling, but some in the community banking arena, including the Community Bankers Association, say that these numbers are exaggerated.
Well, they're just the numbers. These are the data. Now, I want to be clear. It's going to hit community banks differently. There are some community banks that have very few commercial real estate loans, and as a result, they're going to do just fine. But we are now looking at 2,988 community banks that are, by their own regulators' definitions, real estate concentrated, commercial real estate concentrated. And what that really means is they're carrying huge portfolios of commercial real estate relative to their capital and are very much at risk as the commercial real estate market heads down and as we start hitting foreclosures.
That number, what percentage of that of all community banks are we talking about then?
Well, we're talking about roughly about 38% of the entire banking system. So this is a really huge part of the banking system and disproportionately concentrated among the community banks that have this great exposure to commercial real estate lending.
Then, Professor, and you mentioned before, this is not going to be sort of an even process. This is going to be quite uneven. Some are going to do better, some are going to do worse. Can you tell us, even just geographically, what are we talking about here in the United States then?
Well, it's going to be scattered in the United States. There are going to be some areas like Atlanta that are in real trouble. There are going to be some areas that are not going to be in such trouble. In fact, I'll tell you the best way to figure it out. It's look at the places that had real estate booms. Part of the problem we've got is that there was a real buildup in commercial real estate, just like there was in the housing market. And unlike housing, which began to crash faster, commercial real estate is coming up for resets largely in 2011, 2012, and 2013. But we're going to have to come down off that boom. And let's just be blunt about it. That means there are going to be losses. There are going to be investors who are going to lose, and there are going to be banks that bet on those investors, bet on them by lending them money, that are also going to lose. What we're trying to do on the Congressional Oversight Panel is put the numbers out there and say, look, we cannot take the position of covering our ears and hiding our eyes and hoping this problem will go away.
And I want to address that.
We can see it coming.
I want to address that because you say in this report that there are several tools you can use in a toolbox. But has Treasury gotten their hands around this problem? I mean, how confident are you that they're going to take any recommendations?
Well, we're really concerned about this. You know, we have pushed Treasury both to repeat the stress tests for the big financial institutions, the Wall Street banks, which also have a great deal of commercial real estate. It's just not proportionally as much. And for the smaller banks, the community banks that have never been stress tested. We think that's the first step for getting your arms around the problem, and Treasury has been quite resistant to that. They've said no, they do not want to repeat the stress tests, even though the stress tests on the largest 19 banks only had data through 2010, and these losses are going to start hitting big time in 2011, 2012, and 2013, and because the stress tests were never done on community banks, and we've wanted that. Treasury
that has been one
Treasury
of your
says no.
Yeah, that's been your recommendation. Okay, well, we've got to leave it there, Professor, but good to talk with you as always.